Afternoon, Cherries fans. Well, welcome to the latest video on Back of the Net. My name is Craig, and this weekend, Cherries entertain Reading in a match which is live on Sky, kicking off at 12:30 p.m. on Saturday. Now, Reading is a club that I know personally very well because I was brought up in the town, born and bred in the town, and as a youngster, I was actually a regular at Elm Park and then the Medeski. Now, today, I actually have a special guest with us, who is actually a Roars legend, somebody who played 318 games over 2 spells with the club, a Wembley goal scorer. Plus, he also played for Wolves, Coventry, Millwall and Swindon. Now he's working on radio, covering the Roars, so I'm delighted to welcome in Ady Williams back in the net. Afternoon, Ady. How are you?
Good afternoon, Craig. Yeah, thanks for the big build-up, but yeah, good days, fun days. Elm Park. I was lucky enough to play at the Medeski Stadium as well. So, I can tell you the stories about Elm Park and I can tell you the stories about the Medeski Stadium as well. But, yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ady. Well, yeah, I remember watching you as a boy. You know, my granddad and my dad also took me to Elm Park and then the Medeski growing up. So he was a hero of mine when I was younger. So, of course, you was involved in 2 promotions for the Royals, from Division 2 as it was at the time, but also that push towards the Premier League. Do tell us a little bit more about that 1995 team.
Well, it was a good team. It really was a good team. You know, we won the championship. It's a strange story, actually, because we actually played Bournemouth the last game of the season when we won the championship, but we won the championship at Elm Park against Brighton on the Saturday. And then I think it was a Thursday evening for some reason that we still had Bournemouth to play. There was a problem with the fixtures. Something happened and we had to go to Dean Court on the Thursday. I'm sure it was a Thursday evening. And we got beat 2-1. Now, we were already champions. And I remember Dylan Kerr, the left back. I'm sure it was Dylan Kerr, the left back. He was at fault, I think, for the second goal. And we gave him a bit of stick. But after the game, I think we all realised, and I shouldn't really own up to this, but I think the majority of the team was still hungover and half drunk. And we forgave Dill for the back pass to Xhaka, which was a bit short and ultimately cost us the game. But it was very, very strange because we'd won the championship as champions. You know, we had our medal. It was in the locker, if you like, in the bank. Yet we still had to go to Dean Court. We got beat 2-1. And like I say, I mean, congratulations to Bournemouth. It didn't mean anything to Bournemouth, but it didn't really mean anything to us either. But yeah, I used to enjoy going down to the South Coast, play Bournemouth. It's not a derby for Reading by any stretch of the imagination. But, you know, we've always had good games and I've always had good battles with Big Fletch. And it's great to see Fletch over the last few years, you know, obviously still employed at the football club. Great character. You know, you talk about legends for Bournemouth, you know, good lad. We had some tussles.
Yeah, he is a legend here at Bournemouth. You know, we've had Fletcher on the channel as well. So, and he also gets involved with the fans quite a bit as well. So he is a hero, got a stand named after him as well. Of course, the following season went on to Wembley. So stormed Division 1 as it was at the time and was cruelly robbed of promotion to the Premier League in that Wembley.
Yeah, it was momentum, I guess, you know, because when you win the second division, and we're talking about the old division, you know, you go into the first division and you think it could be a bit of a hard slog, but you know, we was on the front foot. We had momentum. We had good players. You know, trust me, when you talk about Simon Osborne, Scotty Taylor, Michael Gilks, Shaka Hislop, Jimmy Quinn was banging in goals for fun, Mickey Goodin. You know, we had some serious players there, not household names, but good quality players. And yeah, we took the division by storm. And, you know, ultimately we lost out in the playoff final at Wembley against Bolton, but we finished second in the table, and it's the first time ever and the only time I think it was, you know, that the top 2 didn't go up. They were shortening the Premier League, and it was just the top 1, and then obviously the playoff winner going up. So to finish second, you know, everyone will talk about the Bolton game. We were 2-0 up. We missed a penalty to go 3-0 up. Surely that would have been enough, but you know, we got beat. McAteer, Stubbs, and Platalainen and Coyle. They had some good players, good manager at the time, experience. But like I say, the thing that still grates with me is that we finished second. It wasn't so much the Wembley game. You know, we were out on our legs. We had injuries. We had injections before the game. You know, there was 3 or 4 lads that would never have played a normal fixture that afternoon. It wasn't a playoff final at Wembley. So I can get my head around that. But to finish second, I think that's the that's the harder thing, and that's the thing that most people forget.
Yeah, it was a fantastic team. I was actually there at Wembley as well back in the day, and of course you scored that goal, that second goal as well. It was a fantastic performance, and considering where the club had come from, you know, it was just such a shame just not to get to the Premier League and test ourselves against the best, really. As people may or may not know, you're actually a presenter now with Mick on BBC Radio Berkshire, as alongside Tim Della. How are you finding covering football in this climate at the moment, Ady?
It's strange for me because I am the presenter of the show. I enjoy presenting the shows, and it's something that I've done for a few years now. And I present the show, and because of COVID, because of restrictions, because of government guidelines, all three of us can't go to watch the games, which obviously is a shame. So I present most of the games in the studio. Obviously, there are options of watching football matches. Unfortunately, some of them I can't watch. So it's tough. But listen, if we're talking about not going to a football match in these tough times where, you know, this is serious stuff. So, you know, there's far more important things to worry about, I'm afraid, than not watching a game of football live. And, you know, you see what's going on in this country, you see what's going on throughout the world. So, you know, it's disappointing. Of course, we all love our sport. And I think the one thing that COVID has made us, or made me maybe realise, and many others I'm sure, is how much, not football, and it could be any sport, but how much sport plays a part in our lives. You know, it could be exercise, it could be going to the gym, it could be anything, but, you know, it plays a big part. Well, it always has in my life. It's always been in my life. And, you know, unfortunately, when you take something away, you don't realise how much you miss it. So I'm hoping, like every sports person, not just football fan, but, you know, all sports people, that when the time is right, I'm sure we can get back into the stadium and enjoy the football and the cricket and the rugby and the netball and the golf and whatever it may be. But, you know, like I say, when the time's right, we'll be there.
Yeah, sooner rather than later, Ady, hopefully, fingers crossed. But on to this season, of course, Reading had new manager. Paunovic has come in and started his career at Reading style. There's been 7 wins, 1 draw in the first 8 games. Did anybody really see it coming?
I don't think so. He was an unknown quantity. He still is. It's just that it's been an unbelievable start, really, up until the last 3 games. But even so, we're still top of the table. So I met the fella the first press conference when he was announced as the Reading manager. I interviewed him and I liked him. He's a young man. He's 43 years of age. Never managed in this country, coached in this country before. He's got a CV. Not particularly a glowing CV. You know, he didn't really work out in America in the MSL. The MLS, I should say, with Chicago Fire, I think it was. It didn't really happen for him there. But, you know, he was a winner of the Youth World Cup finals, I think, back in 2015. So, you know, clearly a good coach, clearly works with young players and brings that talent through, and something that he's, you know, spoke to us about many, many times about, you know, he wants these young players, if they're ready, he will bring them through. There will be a pathway to get into the first team. And he's proven that. He's also signed players on loan. He's got an 18-year-old from Porto, Estevez, who's in the side now, playing at a fullback. So, you know, 18 years of age, you're a young man still. You're still learning the game. But, you know, his beliefs are that if they're, you know, good enough, regardless of whether they're 18, 19, whatever it may be. So he's brought a young lad in from Everton, Lewis Gibson. So, you know, he stuck to his word, really. He enjoys working with the youngsters. He's bringing those through. But could we have seen the start? Never. I don't think Pauno, as he likes to be called, I don't think Pauno could have seen it. We couldn't have dreamt the start we had. It was incredible. And, you know, we were all thinking and getting carried away. This is it. This is the year. It's been so hard the last 5-6 years or so, fighting relegation with different managers, big names in football. But this is the year, and we're going to get carried away. We're going to break the 106 points tally, the record, and this, that, and the other. And up until about 3 games ago, we were.
Yeah, and it was a fantastic start, and some of the results as well. Blackburn, who was Bournemouth's first game of the season, very, very tough team to play against. And also Watford as well have been wins for Reading. Is there any secret?
Well, it's a secret, if there is, because we would all like to know what the secret is. I think when a new man comes in, it's a new voice. He's got his own philosophy. It's a clean slate, you know, all these cliches. I've heard them a million times when a new man comes in. Obviously, we're not going to change too much. We're just going to tinker with a few things. And, it freshens things up. That's what it does. And like I say, he's very passionate when you talk to him. Still a young man, 43, as I say. He's very passionate. And I think it gave everybody a lift at the club when we needed a lift. Like I say, the last few seasons have not been great. We've been looking at the bottom of the table rather than the top. So it gave everybody a lift. And we just got off to that flying start. And it's a strange time. Behind closed doors, it's a strange time. And we've seen some very odd results. We've seen them in the Premier League. Liverpool, Man City Manchester United taking some serious beatings where it would just never happen. You wouldn't believe, that someone like Liverpool could concede 6 goals or whatever it may be, or Manchester United, whatever it may be. So they are strange times. And behind closed doors, if you get off to a good start, who knows where it takes you? And we got off to that good start. We played Derby, opening game of the season, and it's proven that Derby aren't great at the moment. They've just lost their manager, obviously. I think Mr. Rooney could be in charge for a week or two. Good luck to him. But Derby aren't the force they used to be. So we took it with a pinch of salt, the opening game. But as you rightly say, Blackburn was a big result for us because they, at the time, were the Championship's top goal scorers. So we knew that they would probably score a goal or two. They did. They scored 2, but Reading scored 4. Watford, different ball game, Beazley Stadium, 1-0 victory. Last season, our home form was poor. 7 wins in 23 last season. So it is vital that we started the season well at the Beazley Stadium, and we did that.
Yeah, because of course, since the 2017 playoff final against Huddersfield, Yapstam, Paul Clement, Jose Gomez, and Mark Bowen have all been and gone. So I'm guessing Reading fans are hoping it is going to be a lot different this time. And do you think that is something that the players believe in and everybody at the club?
I think the players will believe it. Yeah, absolutely. The last 3 games, obviously, is a bit of a stain. It's a bit of a blip. How big a blip? Well, it's a strange thing to say at the moment because Reading are the best and the worst team in the Championship. Top of the table, everybody would want to swap with them. But there's no other team in the Championship that have lost their last 3 games, even the sides fighting relegation. So let's hope it's a blip. Saturday's game is going to be a tough game. Bournemouth, I've got the utmost respect for Bournemouth. Jason Tyndall, obviously, Eddie, I've known over the years, done a great job there. Brilliant coach, great manager, lovely fella in football. And, Jason's obviously taken over the reins. And I don't think they set the place on fire, but they're a decent side. And, going into the Vitality is going to be a tough game. They've only lost the 1 game all season, I think, out of 11. So it will be tough. They've won their last game. They're a little bit up and down, a little bit inconsistent at the moment. But, if Reading on a normal day went to the Vitality Stadium and got a point, you would say that would be a decent point earned. The problem is it's on the back of 3 defeats. So some cynics would say that's 1 point from your last 12, which doesn't sound great. But I think most educated football fans, Reading fans, think and would understand a draw at Bournemouth wouldn't be the end of the world.
Yeah, most definitely. And Bournemouth could see a bit of a backlash after those 3 defeats against Coventry. It was Coventry, Preston and Stoke, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yeah. So I'm guessing, is that possibly going to be on the cards that we are going to see that backlash?
I don't know whether it's going to be a backlash, but it'll be a different side because the one thing I have a saying in football that I don't really feel sorry for managers. I sympathise with managers. And if you've got injuries to big players, then it's going to affect your team. It's going to affect the balance of the team. And, if you take 5 players out of the Bournemouth starting 11, it's going to affect them. And that's what Reading have had in recent weeks. You've had John Swift out all season. You've had Liam Moore, the captain, out recently. Yaku Mate, big presence, big character. He's been missing. Ovie Ejaria, great things in midfield, very tricky. Got a trick in his locker, good athlete. And it's only now that Andy Yeardom's back in the side. He's missed, most of the start of the season. So I think there's 5 players there that majority of Reading fans would play week in, week out. So it'll be a different side because none of those, obviously, Yeardom played the last game, but, we're hopeful that Moore will come back. He's playing somewhere near his best again. He had an indifferent season last campaign, but he started this season very, very strong. And we think Mate and Ejaria possibly be involved. So, if you bring him back more Ajaria and the Mate, there's a bit more of a backbone to the team, and I think it has to be a different performance, regardless with the result. It will be a different performance because, you know, when you bring back three big players, three big personalities, it will help things for Reading. And
do tell us a little bit more about some of the youngsters that are coming through, because Reading have always been known to have a very good academy. Of course, Jack Stacey is at Bournemouth at the moment, but there's another couple of players that are coming through who previously haven't been able to get a look in. So McIntyre, Elise has also come on board, come through. So do tell us a little bit more about those sort of players.
Yeah, I just like the Jack Stacey example because, you know, sometimes in football, a manager, his opinion, the backroom staff at the time, it might not be for you. And, you know, Jack Stacey left Reading Football Club and I think he went to Luton. He impressed at Luton. So he had to, you know, and no disrespect to Luton, it was almost like he had to go backwards a yard to come forward again. And he did that and he got his move to Bournemouth, and good luck to him. He's a good player, you know, Jack Stacey. So I'm pleased that there are those stories out there. You should have the belief in your own ability, even if, you know, a manager or a coach at the time doesn't have that same belief in you. You know, Jack Stacey is proof that you can better your career as well. So I'm really pleased for Jack. Elise has been great for Reading. He's probably been one of the standout players. Tom McIntyre, he got into the side, conceded a couple of goals. He was a bit ring rusty at the time. So I don't expect Tom to be playing, but Elise, there's every chance he'll be playing. He's had a great start. He scored a couple of goals. I think he's had a few assists as well. Andy Riquelme in midfield has been excellent. Still a young man learning his trade. And the lad next to him, you know, only a free transfer. We say free transfer. I don't know whether there's such a thing as a free transfer, but a free transfer from Shrewsbury, Josh Laurent, and Riquelme and Laurent for the first 8 games of the season were absolutely running the show. So, you know, we've got some young players coming through the ranks. The boy Estevez, 18 years of age on loan. There's one or two others. The left back Omar Richards, still a young man, you know, still a young man learning his game. So it's a good balance. And we spoke about Pauno. He likes to bring the youngsters through, and if they're good enough, and I've always had that belief. I was lucky enough to make my debut when I was 17, and you need a manager to think, well, if he's good enough, then his age is irrelevant. And I think you're seeing more and more of that in football.
Yeah, most definitely. Do you expect Lucas João or George Puskas to start up front on Saturday?
João, 100% João. If João is fit, he'll start. You know, he is the pivotal for Reading. He is the focal point. Puskas, decent striker in his own right. He, you know, international, scored goal for Romania, I think, in their victory in an international friendly. It may have been Romania against Belarus, but he was on the score sheet. So, you know, he scores goals, Puskas. He scores goals, but he hasn't got the all-round package like João has. And, you know, João has got a bit of everything, really. You know, he's very powerful. He's good in the air, dominant, scores goals, scored 9 already this season, 6 in the championship, 9 in all competitions. He's got a good touch for a big fella. You know, it's one of those cliches. You know, we always say you're a big fella. He's got a good touch for a big fella. Peter Crouch used to have a great touch, you know, big fella. Ewan Roberts, I played with at Wolves for a while. He had a good touch for a big fella. I don't know about Fletch. I'm not going to throw Fletch into that one. But, yeah, if João is fit, he is, you know, a serious player if things are going right for him. And if you can keep him fit, 100%, wrap him up in a bit of cotton wool, because I think he can make things happen.
And Mate as well, I know you touched on him a little bit earlier on, Ady. He's also another very, very powerful player, somebody who does, you know, strike fear into defences as well. I'm guessing that Reading fans are going to be hoping that he's going to be starting as well.
Yeah, the only thing about Mate, not the only thing about Mate, but Mate is more of a presence, as in the dressing room, in and around the place. Anything that's on social media, any incident that's going on, any laugh, any joke, any songs being sung with players making their debuts in hotels, whatever it may be, Mate is behind it. You know, whether it's on Instagram or Twitter, whatever it may be, he seems to be a bit of a the joker, if you like, or amongst the jokers in the dressing room. And you need a dressing room. You're going to get different dynamics in the dressing room, and you need jokers, and you need people, are full of energy, and sometimes they drive you mad. But, Yaku Mate is a big presence. He's a big character, but he scores goals as well. I think he scored 4 goals this season. Everyone's talking about Zhao, but last season he was a top goal scorer. I think the season before that he would have been top goal scorer. And he scores good goals. He scored one at the Medeski Stadium a few weeks ago. It was a bicycle kick. It was almost an overhead kick, top corner. It was a brilliant goal. It really was. So, I think, Mate, of course, he's a big player for Reading, but he's much more than that. He's a big presence for Reading as well. And I think a lot of the young boys coming through have got good relationships with Mate. They seem to strike up a good bond. And like I say, if any pranks going on in and around the dressing room, Mate's behind it.
One thing that I did want to touch on was the Riquelme situation. So, of course, he was training at Reading for quite some time and did look certain to join. But then he come down here. Do you have any idea what happened with that?
You want me to be brutally honest? I know nothing about it. Now, trust me when I say this, we're all on social media, and for our job, it's brilliant. For my job, it's brilliant. Absolutely love it. It is what it is sometimes, and you've got to take it with a pinch of salt. And let's all be kinder on social media to each other as well. But it is what it is, and you've got to accept it is what it is. And this Riquelme thing was driving me mad. It was driving me mad. And are Reading going to sign him? He's this and that, and he's touted to be the next whoever it may be. And he was going to be. Oh my goodness me! He was built up to be like a Maradona or a Luis Figo or somebody like this. And. For me, it was all hype, and I'm sure he'll have a brilliant career, and I wish him well. But, at the end of the day, it didn't happen for Reading. I'm sure they saw enough of him to realise if they wanted to sign him, then they could have signed him. I don't know the politics in football. I don't know the politics behind the scenes. I'm sure there are, and I'm sure there were some stumbling blocks, and whether it was agents or finances or whatever, or maybe Mr. Paunovic at the end of the day didn't want to go through with the signing. I don't know, but I see he was on the bench for Bournemouth against Birmingham. I don't think he's had that much time on the pitch at the moment. So, I think the word potential comes to mind with somebody like Riquelme, and I'm sure he's got, potential in abundance, but we've seen many, many players who've got potential go by the wayside. And hopefully Riquelme's not one of them. I'm sure he's not. But, for me, there was a load of hype. Good luck to Bournemouth. They took the risk, they took the chance, they took the gamble, they've given him an opportunity, and it's up to him.
He does look, to be fair, Ady, he does look like he is going to be a very, very promising player for us. He did score the equaliser against Derby, but is he going to start anytime soon? I think it's only going to be when there's injuries to players around him, then, maybe he'll come in from the start. So we haven't seen that much, like you say, of him as yet. Just moving away
just on that one, if I may, I think nowadays the football clubs in the Championship, in the Premier League, these academies are incredible. They're absolutely brilliant. They really are. I think the academy directors or the coaches behind the scenes, I think they could give you 10 names like Riquelme, who have got a future, who they think is going to be a really good player. And I think that's the beauty of it. There's so much competition now, and if you're in that bubble, and if you're in that bubble, you want to be the best. You want to be. There's only one of me, sort of thing. But there isn't. That these academies are so well run now, and they've got these players coming through. There's 5 or 6 Riquelmes coming through at the same time, and I think that's healthy competition, and that's why I hope it continues. And I'd like to see more youngsters come through the academy making their debuts. But I would imagine most Championship clubs say we've got 5 or 6 lads to keep an eye on.
Yeah, most definitely. Just moving away, of course, from this weekend's game, you played at Dean Court, both the new and the old, a couple of times during your career, apart from the one that you mentioned about at the end of, it was 1994, wasn't it, that game?
Yep.
What's your other memories of playing at Dean Court?
That's a good question, and I don't think I've got that many memories. I couldn't even tell you whether Bournemouth was a bogey side for Reading or whether we used to go down there and get good results. Certain grounds I can remember throughout my career, Ashton Gate, Bristol City, I can tell you now, I must have played at Bristol City 10 times, and I must have played 10 rotten games, whether I was sent off, whether I got injured, whether I gave away penalties, whether I gave away goals. I was hopeless at Ashton Gate. I would never have signed for Bristol City because the Bristol City fans would have thought they were signing a clown, trust me. So, there's certain grounds and certain teams I can remember playing against during my career, throughout my career, 21, 22, 23 years. But Bournemouth, I can't remember much other than Fletch. And obviously Fletch was a centre forward. I was a centre half. And in those days, it was very much get the ball up to the big fella who will cause problems. And, he'll win the flick-ons and get it into him and he'll back in and he'll fight with the centre half. And you could in those days have a fight, not a physical fight, not fisticuffs, but it was part of the game. And I got to know Fletch after we finished, when we both retired, and I got to know Fletch a little bit more. And he's a great character. He's a strong boy, powerful lad. And we used to have some really good battles, honest, hard, fair battles. And for some reason, you don't see that much anymore. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that is a good thing. But, nowadays, if a central defender, puts his foot round the side and wins a tackle or, whatever it may be, he seems to get penalised now. And if a striker jumps up and puts his arm up, which is not to be nasty, but just to, try and get a little bit of elevation, then it's a foul. And sometimes you've even seen players sent off for it just by raising their arm, just to try and get a bit of elevation. Well, go back a few years, because if you didn't come off the football pitch with a couple of bruises and aches and pains, then, it wasn't a game of football. So I was pleased when I played, in my career. And like I say, the Bournemouth, I can't remember too much about it other than the big fella up front.
Yeah, fair play.
And Defoe, and Jermaine Defoe. I remember Defoe. He was always lively. He was always sharp. He always scored goals. He was always a threat. A very good player.
Yeah. Did you play in the 3-3 game at the Medeski? I know it's one that a lot of Bournemouth fans remember for the wrong reasons, but there was the game that was 3-3 at the Medeski. Did you play in that game?
I'm guessing. Okay. I don't know. Did Defoe score? Was he there then?
He was, yes, he was.
Yeah, it sort of springs to mind. I can't remember the game. I mean, I don't know, even when you said that, remembered it for all the wrong reasons. I don't know what the wrong reasons were, to be honest. So
it was the last game of the season, and before the playoffs, if Bournemouth had won, they would have actually been playing Reading in the playoff semi-final. As it happened, it was a late goal. Bournemouth were 3-1 up, and then brought it back to 3-3.
No, I don't remember. Who did Reading play in the playoffs that year?
Wigan.
Wigan.
And then a 2-1 win. That was Forster. The Forster show at the right.
Yeah. Well, the answer to your question about the 3-3, then I imagine I did, because I played in the Wigan home and away playoff semi-finals and the final as well.
Before we let you go, it would be rude of us not to ask you for a prediction. How are you forecasting this one, Ady?
I think two decent sides. I think Reading are obviously on the back of 3 defeats. So first things first, they've got to get a performance. They've got to stop the rot. I think Liam Moore will be fit. I think he'll come back into the central defence alongside Morrison. They've been outstanding for the first 7-8 games. He'll wear the armband again, so that will give Reading a lift. I think Mate and possibly Ajara will also come back into the reckoning. So I think it'll be a tough game for both sides. I honestly could see it being a draw. I really could, because I haven't seen Bournemouth right now, like I said earlier, really firing on all cylinders just yet. Reading have had a blip, confidence down a little bit. First goal will be massive. I always say that, particularly, when you've just lost your last 3. Now, if I go to the Vitality Stadium, I've just conceded 11 goals in my last 4, 9 goals in our last 3 games, 3 defeats. If we concede in 5-10 minutes, it's human nature to think, oh my goodness, here we go again. So that's the real test really for Reading. Can they score first? Can they keep Bournemouth quiet for 20, 25 minutes? Can they get to half-time 0-0? If I was the manager, I would say, listen, let's just take it as 2 games. Let's just play 45 minutes and get to half-time. If it's 0-0, if we've not had 1 shot on target, I'm not bothered. Let's just keep ourselves a bit like a golf tournament. Keep ourselves in the golf tournament. You can't win the golf tournament in the first round. You can't win the game in the first 10 minutes, but let's just not concede. And I'll tell you what, second half, we might be a little bit braver and we might have a go at them. A draw. Boring, I know, but a draw.
And that's the one thing we've read in as well at the moment is for the shots on target, they're converting a lot, aren't they?
Yeah, particularly in the first, like I say, 7-8 games when they were winning football matches because, you know, maybe 2 shots on target, 2 goals. They were very clinical. And a lot of people, a lot of pundits, a lot of, you know, skeptics out there were saying, well, you can't win a championship title going through the season like that. You know, I think I looked at the stats. You'll know more than me, but I think Bournemouth had 21 shots against Birmingham, 7 on target. You know, that's serious. That's serious stuff. So if you have 7 on target and score 3, you know, statistically, I'll tell you, just under 50%. So, you know, Reading were creating 2 chances and scoring 2 goals, 3 chances and scoring 3 goals. So you need more, but you have to also accept that the likes of John Swift and Ovie Ejaria, who are the creators, who are the conductors, if you like, in that midfield engine area, they do create things they've been missing. So you've got to take that into consideration as well. But yeah, I think it'll be a tough game for both sides. Neither team firing on all cylinders. I think Reading would accept a point more than Bournemouth.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Ady. It's been a pleasure to have you on and to speak to you today. And thank you for being part of our preview show. Later on in the week, we'll actually have more preview content relating to the game on Saturday. And remember to subscribe to the chat and join our free-for-all live. And we'll also have Tom's player ratings, plus our chat with Cherries manager, Kevin Bonds. Until then, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.